Hello and welcome back to the Startup Expo 2022. We went for a short break and we arrived back on here. The next speaker for this maiden edition is going to be no other person than Arijit Bhattacharyya. He's a serial entrepreneur since 1998, a technologist, an angel investor, public speaker since 2008, business matchmaking expert, government advisor, artist, author, community builder since 2010. He's a game programmer since 1998 from legacy to latest game engines. He's a very prominent person, I must say. And the very interesting thing is that his expertise lies in the areas of international business development, technology, fundraising innovation, new market development, market entry, deep tech AI. He's helped several villages to become sustainable and become self dependent. Arijit brings the entrepreneurs together to network, collaborate, and foster the community. If I say I'm going to speak about him, he is a rare combination of finance and digital banking. I think I'm going to leave the platform for Arijit Bhattacharya to now progress. Thank you so much, Mr. Arijit, for being on here.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for the beautiful and lovely introduction. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen with all the audience, probably to make it a little bit of funny, because when we talk about raising funds and talking about investment, talking about startups, uh, it becomes a little bit of serious. So let me not put those kind of seriousness when I'm probably sharing something which is on money. Money is always, we know that that's serious, but somehow punching a little bit of fun will actually give you a little bit of diversion. Give me a moment to share my screen and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I hope that my screen is visible to all the audience and probably you can see it properly. Now, talking about startups, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bore you. Now, boring, basically English is actually a funny language. What I do, I play around with it. So bore for me is beginning of re-engineered entrepreneurship. And when I talk about entrepreneurship, I'm actually talking about innovations. I'm talking about something which is disruptive. And I'm talking about those crazy guys who are actually making a mark in the history of business. And those crazy guys are changing the whole world, wherein people knows that these guys are going to add a lot of value to the ecosystem. So entrepreneurship is not about the spelling. Entrepreneurship is more about riding a tiger. And when I call it riding a tiger, the reason is when you start your business, it is small. So you adopt a cub and then you start feeding it probably with milk with the intention that eventually it will grow, it will become big, it will start roaring, and you will ride on the top of it. It's risky. You can't stop because when you stop, if it is hungry, it's going to kill you. So there is an art, there is a science to run your entrepreneurial life, and that's a journey that we all entrepreneurs probably continue. And when we talk about raising funds, when we talk about startups, when we talk about VCs, angel investors, the only key factor that the investment world understand is your consumer, your market, and your team. So whatever I'm going to share, please understand that we will be touching more on when we raise fund, mainly touching more on the market expansion and consumer attraction. So I personally love to start small, to be very, very honest. There is no reason that you'll be starting your venture and you say that, okay, fine, I'm going to start my venture because there is an investor who is going to invest money into my business. No, you start your business out of passion, you start your business out of love, and due course of time, when you feel that it is time to scale up, time to grow, you raise fund. Or if you have an innovative product, if you have a complete unique proposition, you have a unique business model, and you really want to grow faster, the need is You handshake with someone who have got experience, who have got money, who have got connections, who have got network, and then you say that, okay, fine, you know what, I have got some kind of proposition, I have got a team, I have got an idea, I have got a product which is working at the moment, or probably is going to change a little bit of dimension and the way people consume things. So would love to handshake with you. If you can kindly invest in my business, it'll be nice. So whenever you talk, whenever we usually communicate, we are talking about starting a very small organization, which I call as smart, manageable, adjustable, and logical, which goes towards large. That's what we call as small organization. I'm not talking about size. Did you say, I mean, did you think that I'm talking about size? Not at all. Well, let's see, when we talk about funding, when we talk about getting you ready for investor, what are the key factors that is required? Number one thing, you need a great team. Please understand, team, team, and team. I'm not talking about your employees, I'm more talking about your team, the people who are working with you, who are working for the company, for a cause, and they are trying to build the organization together. They are not with you for money, they are with you for the vision, same passion. So it might happen that you are a great technology guy, but lack of business knowledge. So there might be some person who becomes your partner. They or he or she understand how to do business. So it's a win-win situation for both of you. It becomes a perfect kind of match. Somebody is into business, someone is into technology. Technology doesn't mean that you have to be IT guy. Technology can be anything. Now, there might be someone who understands operations. There might be someone who understands probably how the money market works. There might be someone who understands the peer market, how exactly peer can be done. Now, when you talk about startups, when you talk about creating team, these are the basic key elements. It can be you, it can be your co-partners, it can be someone whom you don't know, but you're trying to get someone on board as your co-founder. Now, bringing that team requires really a lot of time. Some people are lucky in their initial time, they usually get that perfect match and they disrupt the world. And sometimes when you feel that you are alone, but you are good at doing all these things, that's also okay. You can always apply for seed round, you can always apply for funding. There is no hard and fast rule that without any kind of partner, you can't raise fund. It's a kind of myth, to be very honest. Now, let me give you a small bit of understanding. Who are these people whom we call as angel investors? Crazy guy like me. Well, the reason I started angel investing, because when I started back in 1998, I was 17. The market was not ready, at least in India. So I started India's one of the oldest game development company from that time, where smartphone didn't exist. In fact, internet was a luxury in that time. It used to be a CRT monitor era, if you remember that time. Well, that time I didn't had those kind of ecosystem who can actually support me, guide me, help me, or probably give me a unbiased guidance how to raise funds. And that's the reason, after running my venture for last, till 2008, 10 years, I decided that I'll be helping a lot many more entrepreneurs like me who are probably starting from the same point. So let me be that catalyst to probably invest, give them market connect, give them a little bit of happiness so that we can grow faster together. That's my story. But several other angel investors are kind of similar. They want to handshake with you, multiply their money, plus they want to help you to grow faster than possible than you can think of, right? Now, there are second layer of investors who are venture capitalists. Now, there is a myth that venture capitalists don't invest in the seed round. Well, they do. Venture capitalists usually invest a large amount of capital. Sometimes yes, sometimes, well, it depends on the product, it depends on your service, it depends on your business. Venture capitalists is basically a group of investors who are a registered fund, and they invest money with a group so that you can grow much more faster. They have a larger network, definitely. They have larger known people, they have access to capital, so they can help you to grow your business like anything. There are accelerators, there are incubators. Incubators usually come in the final initial stage where you really want to grow your business from probably level 0 to level 1 or 2. Then comes your acceleration stage where you really want to grow, really want to scale up, really want to connect to the world, and you choose an acceleration program where you get mentors, you get market connect, you get the investors, and of course you grow faster together with them as well. There are other kind of investors who are usually fund givers. They sometimes give fund as private equity, sometimes give it as a business loan. It completely depends on them how they really want to invest in your business. Now there are a lot many different kind of examples I can show you. So these are few of my portfolio of my organizations worldwide, wherein these are all done by me individually, but yeah, I mean there are group investment as well. So Co-Innovate Venture is actually our own accelerator and our fund. So we usually invest in the revenue stage startups, and sometimes with a startup where they are probably in the early stage but not on the idea stage. It is important when you raise fund to understand your first customer. Now, when we talk about first customer, definitely, probably you have a MVP, which is a minimum viable project, and that is your strength. And when I talk about this part of the world, try to be a co-developer with your consumer. I'll give you a live example. For an example, probably you have created an app, or maybe you created new kind of donuts. Maybe you have created something which is really, really cool, maybe a different kind of energy drink, and you really want a feedback from the market. You want to understand how it looks, how it tastes, sometimes whether people will love it or not. So try to give as much as example cases to your potential consumers. Ask them in a very humble note, can you give me a feedback? Take the feedback in always positive manner. If somebody is saying you that, you know what, I really don't like your logo, maybe your logo is not that crispy, maybe probably you can change it a little bit. Ask them what you want me to change. Is it the color? Is it the way we are designing? If they don't like the taste of maybe your juice or maybe your energy drink, ask them what more do you want? Do you really want me to optimize the sugar level, or you really want me to change XYZ? With those kind of feedback, sometimes it happens, I've seen in my life that few of startups, they actually got a co-developer with them who initially was their consumer. So it's an interesting case when you try to communicate with your consumers and get them on board as a feedback giver. It's not necessary that you really need to communicate with them on a daily basis. Ask for a feedback, communicate with them, try to update and upgrade your product and your business model. Now, when we talk about definitely raising funds, well, I have really, really few tips to give all of you. Because of limited time, probably because it's like 15 minutes of my speech, I'm trying to make it as easy and simple as possible, right? Well, first, you need, again, a great team. Second, you need those kind of consumers who can actually help you. Don't get someone who is giving you a lot of negative feedback. Well, for business, you need to understand you little bit need to be a kind of diplomatic. Okay, get those people who really love you, who really understand probably your kind of proposition, your kind of product, and your kind of value addition. Get them on board if required. It's an interesting part. If you really want to put their testimonial in your website, that works. And in today's world, try to get their videos if they agree, try to get their pictures, put them in your social media, blast it that these are our happy consumers. It creates a trust factor and you can grow really, really fast in that manner, right? Well, if you ask me, my guru is Steve Jobs. So I always love to say that always stay hungry and always go for more, right? So when you are raising fund, another tips from me before I hop into a little bit of technicalities, don't rush. If you push it really, really hard from the investor's perspective, it's not very nice, to be very, very honest. Say for an example, you want to raise fund within a month. I really want to raise a fund. So if you want to say yes, say it now. Well, people do have their own work to do. I mean, all the people are not free in the world. So they'll take their own time to read your pitch deck, to understand you. So it never ever happens on a pitch deck. It happens on the relationship that you're creating with the gentleman or the woman who is your potential consumer, who is your potential investor. So give it a little bit of time, understand the person and the personality and their appetite. It may happen that whom you're targeting may not be your investor, but that fellow might be helping you to connect with a different layer of investors which is not in his or her portfolio. And that happens. People who are in the ecosystem, they usually try to do that. Well, to raise capital, let me ask you a little bit of a question. Are your product at least can get 10% of the existing market? If yes, well, what is your TG? What is your consumer? Who is your target group? Who is your age group for whom your product is available? You can't just say that for billions of people, my product is ready at the moment. Let us make it a little bit of sizable. Let's talk something which is rational. Now, when I talk about rational, let's talk about your own locality. Let's not take the data from probably internet and show it to the investors. Let's talk about your local market, your common market, get a feedback from people. If you get probably 100 of those market study, that works. People will understand you have actually worked on your business. And I have seen tons of those pitch deck, which is talking about those internet data. Actually doesn't work, to be very honest. We understand all these things. Whom people like us who are in this industry for quite a long time, we really understand what is going to happen. Well, then of course, when you're raising funds, try to build at least a prototype. It actually attracts investors, right? And try to become a great CEO, guys. Because it's not an interactive session, so I can't ask you the question. But for me, CEO is not chief executive officer. For me, it is the cash extraction officer. A CEO's role is always to hire great employees and try to manage the entire money flow into the organization. So try to be that. It's required, to be very honest. Yeah. Now, when we talk about valuation, how do you talk about the valuation? It is always a pre-money valuation, and when you add that, the investment amount, it becomes your post-money valuation. So it depends on you which stage you are in at the moment. If you're not generating revenue, you are probably fluctuating your valuation. Please don't do that. That's a small suggestion from an experienced guy from the industry. I don't call myself as a great investor, but definitely probably a veteran in this industry. Don't try to float and fluctuate data, right? Now, how will you compute your valuation? How will you compute and how will you understand your valuation in this financial world if you have started your business? Multiple ways. Of course, if you are a profitable business, if you are a profitable company, you have a steady growth, you can go for PE multiple. If you are a loss-making company and of course your profit is not that stable, it's fluctuating, you can go for PS multiple. There are other methods as well, like your consumer base, your subscribers, number of, you can say, countries you're serving, kind of demographic connections that you have, the level of peer connectivities that you have so far, the kind of news media's coverage that you have got so far. It completely depends, right? And of course, there are methods like discounted cash flow. So there are backward methods. These are a bit of technical. I'm not going very deep into it. It really takes time. For me, when you raise funds, always try to have some time in your hand. Sometimes when you pitch and then the person really loved your idea, really loved your business, but then if it's a cross-border investment, it takes time, the legalities, the formalities, formation of companies, getting people on board, understanding the NDAs, and then saying yes. It sometimes takes 6 months to 9 months as a whole structure. So don't get disheartened if you are getting funding from probably from some one country to another country. It is taking time. It is perfectly fine because people really want to create a rock solid business rather than just going for fun method. Well, I'm just skipping this slide practically because there are different kind of methods where you can have funding, whether it is your working capital, your equity investment, or your research development. There are various different kind of funds available. If required, if it is okay for the organizer, I'll probably later on share this slide with them. They can probably share it with all of you. What is important when you're seeking finance? Definitely your quality of connection, your fund need, your size of business, what are the market capabilities that you have, if you have a background working probably in some other companies earlier, or maybe if you're a fresher but you have got an amazing business structure which is probably unbreakable. These things are really important. And I'm not talking about only startups. There are MSMEs and SMEs as well, right? And they are earning a good amount of money. They are probably profitable, but sometimes they lack of understanding the features that when they're growing their company, they need to make their company finance ready. Example, if you have a big business loan from some bank and now you're trying to raise funds from some investor, it is really difficult for an investor to come on that stage. I'll tell you the reason why. Because you are already in the debt. So if they're coming on board, they need to take care of that debt as well, until and unless it has been taken care of only solo by you. So it is always recommended to understand it first, consult with a proper person who can give you guidance what to do, what not to do before you raise funds for probably from some angel investor or from some VC. For lack of time, because we started probably 5 minutes, I think I should respect other speakers' time as well. But yeah, for all the other audience, this is a recommended slide deck for all of you. Maybe you can take it as an example. So when you create a pitch deck, slide deck, don't make it large. Like in today's world, people don't love 100 pages to read. I mean, you don't need to create a 100 pager as a pitch deck, right? So what you can do, probably you can go for 10 slider at max, right? So that we can understand who you are, what you do, what is your ROI, what is your USP, what are the kind of disruption you are bringing, what is your solution and your business model. If those things are there in your pitch deck, it's more than enough to create a pitch deck and send it to investor. If he or she says that, okay, fine, I really like it, then go for a business plan, then go for a financial model. It's completely fine in your case. Well, let me skip it. In any way, when you're raising, I think you need to understand how to create a balance in the market and how to raise fund. When you're running for money, I always suggest 90% of the startup fail because they really want to run faster. They burn out of cash a lot. They don't understand sometimes that when to optimize their business so that the investors' money don't burn like water, and then you don't have money to show it as a profit. So it is important to understand that startup is not about your valuation. Rather, startup is always about creating a product which is 10x better and grows 10x faster than anything else. So I think with this note, I will stop my presentation over here. I'm available in social media if you really want to connect. I'm available in Insta, in Arijit Twitter, Arijit Games, and Facebook. You can see the URL. Of course, I have a personal website and LinkedIn. You can Google me. You can put my name. Feel free to connect, and I'll be more than happy to help in any way I can do. If there is any question, we'll be more than happy to take it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arijit. That was a very great speech you just gave there, and looking at how to secure funding. And I believe everyone on here has learned a thing or two. I think the question someone is asking now is, how do you value a company?
Sorry.
How do you value a company? That's the
Uh,
question someone is asking.
well, how do I value a company? It's not about value your company. Rather, it's about how you can create probably valuation for your company. Well, when you create a valuation, there are a couple of factors, my friend, who asked this question. First of all, the quality of team that you have, their background, their strength. Second, the market potential. Third, the most important part, the product that you're selling or the service that you have, what kind of impact it can actually create in the world. It can be maybe a fashionable garment, for an example. Because I have got a beautiful host and she's a lady, maybe some startup created a dress which can be used for as a casual wear and as a probably as a commercial purpose, as party wear. But the same dress, one single dress, you can
Mm,
change it in 4 or 5 different ways. So that means You are creating a new line of fashion. Now, when you propose it to women, they usually love
mm,
it, right? And when they love it, probably you are saving a lot of cost for that woman. That means you're bringing a little bit of disruption in the world. And that also means you have recruited lot many
mm,
of those people who are making this dress. And if it is connecting with the social impact, oh my God, that's gonna impact a lot of different other fashion designers, dressmakers. Maybe they're coming from a background which is very humble, and all these key factors are giving you a great valuation method because you are impacting the world in a complete different way, right? So in this case, it is not important how much profit this company is making. It is important how much impact this company is making for those humble background people. And for this, there are social impact funds who would love to invest in this company. I hope that give you a fair amount of idea how investment world works.
That's a very beautiful answer you just gave, Mr. Arijit. And I believe the one who asked the question, you've had the answer. He said impact, not really about profit. And he gave a very beautiful case scenario in terms of fashion line um, to use it to actually look at the value of a company. So that was a very great question and a very great answer. Thank you. The next question is when is the best time to raise funding?
Beautiful question. It completely depends on your company, to be very honest. If you have created a product which can be patentable, maybe the algo, maybe the product, maybe something else, and you really want to create a prototype out of it,
Mm,
and you feel that you don't have money, shall I go for a funding or not? Don't think, yes, you can go for funding. Second case, you don't have a patentable product, there is no uniqueness, but then now you want to raise fund from the initial time. I will recommend not to go for funding at this moment. But if you have created that MVP, if your product is ready to go to the market, and then this is a complete different kind of business model that you have, then this is the right time for you to raise fund. I'll give you one of my portfolio companies example. Portfolio means where I invested, right? So one of the US based organization, they created a mobile cover which can float and hover. So it's not flying, it's not following,
mm,
it's about hovering mobile cover, right? Now, for whom these things are usable? These things are usable for people who are sometimes physically not that able. Maybe they don't have hands, sometimes they don't have legs, sometimes these people can't walk or probably are not normal, right? They can't hold the phone in their hands, so they need some help. So for them, this AI-based patentable product can hover that phone in front of them for around 8 hours. And now they are trying to convert that with solar power so that it can give them power probably for a longer time. And it can hover in front of them with an AI generated formula and algorithm. It can talk, it can communicate with you, and it can give you a feelings that you are with one of your assistant. Now, why I give you this example? Because this is a complete innovative product and they are pretty specific about their target group. They are not at all targeting normal common people. They're targeting people who are not that normal,
mm,
which creates a social impact in any way. Number one. Number two, if you are
mm,
physically okay and you really want that, okay, fine, my phone should follow me. I really don't want to carry that in my pocket. Maybe I'm hiking, maybe I'm cycling, and I really don't want to use any drone. That cover can give you that kind of experience. So think of an innovative business model rather than always thinking that if your product is innovative or not. That's the key factor. In that stage, you should go for raising fund. Third and common factor, when you're growing, you're scaling up, you have good amount of traction in your business, and you really want to grow faster. Example, well, you can see that you are now earning $1 million probably in a month or maybe in a year or less than that, but you can see that you can touch $5 million in next 3 years. But if you get funding at this moment, you can synchronize that timeline of 3 years into 1 year, which means within a year, your turnover can go towards $5 million if you get funding. Then this is one of the ripest time where you should go for funding. You will dilute less equity, you will be more secure, you will actually grow faster, people will love you. I'm done with this question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arijit, for that answer. I believe
Okay, so I want
the
one
question
question.
has been answered, and I love how you've actually added case studies to actually back the question up.
Okay, so there is another question I think that came from YouTube, which I can see.
Pardon, what did you say?
Yeah. Uh, Paresh is asking, I want to ask one question to Arijit, what advice he gives his 21 years old version if come back at 21.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting one to be very honest. I did a lot of mistakes when I started. It was a self-learning experience, right? So you need to understand none of us are perfect. Okay. So to be very honest, if I can give an advice to my 21 years old Arijit, probably I would advise him to explore the world at 21 because I started exploring the world after running my business for 6 7 years. World means I started traveling internationally. So as a whole, that will be my only key advice to my 21 years old self, to start traveling internationally and start exploring the land of opportunities wherein people have shakiness to grow. In today's time, Paresh, I don't fear to go anywhere. Like if you uh, ask me to maybe travel in a sea, in open sea, while swimming, probably I'll do that. But my 21 years self was a little bit of skeptical because he was building the company that time. So risk taking appetite for me that time was not the way I am at this moment. That will be my only advice. Thanks, Carla, for your comment.
Thank you so
Can I
much
have?
for that beautiful answer. The next question is, when is the best time to raise funding?
I think I already answered that. Okay, I got another question. At seed stage, what percentage of company is it reasonable to
I
give
think
out
there's
in
another
fundraising?
question.
I got that, Sandra. At seed stage, what percentage of
The next
company?
question is, at C stage,
Yeah, I got that. Well, at seed stage, what percentage of company is it reasonable to give out in fundraising? Well, it actually depends on you how much you want to dilute, but I would not recommend to dilute more than 15 to 20% of your company. That's the maximum that you can dilute with a potential investor for so many reasons. But to be very honest, there is no hard and fast rule that you can't share more. It depends on investee and the investor. What is their equation? How much they want to raise? How much they want to dilute? So if in your case, like for an example, you're not in revenue stage, you are just in an idea stage, and maybe you have created some traction, um, probably I would say in a bootstrap stage, I will recommend as a very simple answer, I will recommend not to dilute more than 20% of your company. But that's for the investors. Maybe you have some other advisors on board whom you can maybe dilute 2 to 5%. That creates a great bonding. Maybe you have some team members whom you have already diluted a X amount of equity. It completely depends how you want to go about it. There is no hard and fast rule.
Mr. Arjay, first, thanks very much for the insights in fundraising and the time that you spend with us. We are very grateful. And what we say is God bless you very much for the nice presentation that you shared with the whole audience. Yeah, we are very grateful for the presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me, and it's been a pleasure to come here and share a little bit of insights that I can give with all of you. Even though I have a blog in the website, if you want to read, it's free. Feel free to read and communicate. It's a great effort from our Startup Expo 2022. They have been bringing great minds together, and a great ecosystem is about to emerge. I can see that. Kudos and good luck. Wish you all the best. Thank you so much.